Back from that short commercial break, and it's exactly 4 minutes, and that's past the hour of 8 a.m. And this time around, we head straight to the coffee cut, and the discussion will be about the Computer Misuse Act. You will be in position to understand what the details of this particular article, getting to understand what are the penalties just in case you found that you're guilty regarding this particular law. So you will be able to be sensitized, and I believe that will affect your decision making on how you use the digital space right there to avoid yourself into landing into trouble. All right, Coffee Cut has more of these details.
Well, the discussion regarding one of the acts that was assented to by the President of this country, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is the Computer Misuse Act. As a business channel, the discussion continues. My name is Fred Makuya, and thank you for joining us on this Coffee Cut, where we discuss critical and pertinent questions. And I'm joined by Mr. Counsel Lufuna Derrick. He's a lawyer by profession. Counsel, it's a pleasure, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for hosting me. To share matters of national importance. I hope the discussion is going to be fruitful for the benefit of our viewers, and also to give a bit of insight and guidance to matters that affect us in our daily lives as Ugandans. So I thank the viewers and yourself and the TV station, Smart 24, for hosting me.
Briefly bring us to speed. Which process does a law go through to finally be called a law?
A law is the source of any law comes from the society itself. What parliamentarians call the mischief. Why do we have a law? Why is it necessary to have a law? In 2011, this particular law, the law in question right now, was enacted by the Parliament of Uganda. Enacting a law is a process, what they call a legislative process. The law is introduced in different forums. One, a law can be moved by government. It can be proposed by a line minister. If the importance by government to legislate has been identified, a law can be sourced from that area, government.
Okay.
But also legislatively, a law can be sourced from a private member who is not government. The most famous one is the term limits, the Rafael Magezi Constitutional Amendment Act.
He was not a minister, he was
not a minister, he was a backbencher, a private member. He was not in government.
I thought the mere fact that you're a member of parliament, you are part of government.
If you look at it holistically, in the three arms of government, a member of parliament is an officer of government, an official of government. But government has structures in parliament. Those are the ministers, at least the Westminster approach, or structure we have in Uganda. Okay. The Ugandan parliament puts ministers and ex-officials as representatives of government in parliament. The other members of parliament either belong to the opposition, who have the opposition has a leader, that's the lead of government, lead of opposition, and the independents who have a dean of members of parliament who are independent in thinking and mind. Now, a private member like Honorable Nsereko Muhammad can move a private member's bill, place it before parliament, and he seeks the approval of parliament to bring a private member's bill on a matter that is affecting society, and it's tabled before parliament, and the process of legislation starts from there. The bill goes through 3 stages. The first stage is the first reading. That is when it is introduced in parliament. Then it's referred to that particular committee to make investigations and public inquiries. And all stakeholders are invited. All stakeholders, including ordinary Ugandans, including political parties, including journalists, including everyone, Uganda Law Society, and everyone, because legislation is not individual, legislation is national.
Okay.
The laws are made to curb or to arrest national issues, not private issues. So a nature of any law that's passed by Parliament of Uganda is to arrest national issues, not individual issues. So the second stage is the committee stage, where consultations are made. The third stage is a report is made by the chairperson of the committee, and the bill is read the third time in Parliament.
I don't see the public engaging in any of the three processes you're talking about, Council.
Now,
where am I engaged as a stakeholder of this country? Where are you engaged? Where is the Muntua Wansi engaged in these three processes?
I know it for a fact that committees are public committees. You journalists are invited and everything is done in the open, with the exception of writing a report where they retreat. Every stakeholder, and I mean every stakeholder. And you see, it's deceptive for people to say, the public was not invited. This act, which was a bill before, has been in social media.
Now that you are saying we are engaged, now let's discuss the real core matter of the Computer Misuse Act. What do you make of this law?
Before you dive into the tenets of the law, you must understand where the law comes from. This law has history. The first enactment of the Computer Misuse Act was in 1990 in England.
This is Uganda.
This is Uganda. Now, the reason why the 1990 Act was enacted in England was to arrest the ever-growing cyberspace that was alien to our justice system. Actually, some scholars and some commentators or pundits on TV called the internet or computer or what they call anything that has an operating system the wild, wild west. To me, no policeman could regulate the internet, computer usage, because the language and the devices and the operations we are talking about were alien. So there was a case, I think the parties, I forget, it should be R versus Goldman or something. They were charged under a penal statute at that time of forgery, under charges of forgery, but they could not pass the test because the requirement of the law is that an offense must be written.
It must not be verbal.
Yes, prescribed, and punishment for it given. Now, if in 1990 issues like cyber harassment, cyberbullying were non-existent, no one could be charged of an offense that is non-existent. And that's what Article 28, 7 and 12 of the Constitution of Uganda says. In 2011, the government of Uganda introduced the Computer Misuse Act.
So this is not a new law. You seem to be suggesting it's been in existence.
The issue is an amendment to already an existing law. But you see, the long title is Computer Misuse. What the lawyers call the name of the law, Computer Misuse. That's the long title. Now, the motive or the mischief or the spirit of the law or the reason for the enactment of the law was based on the principle that there was a lot of unsecure, unregulated, electronic computer transactions that were alien to our law. So the government thought it wise, and the Computer Misuse Act was brought into place. Assented to by the president, it became law. And of course, over the years, 10 or something, it has captured a few victims, but it has not been successfully litigated, in my view, as a practitioner who has been around for the time the Computer Misuse Act has been in place. Now, the cyberspace is dynamic. It's ever changing. Even as I speak right now, algorithms, applications, devices are being introduced in the cyber market. The cyberspace moves so fast that even the laws as we speak right now, even with this amendment, it's still very backdated.
So you seem to be suggesting that we may have another amendment after 1 year.
Very soon. England has done so. It has had several amendments until the latest, which was in 2015.
Isn't that abnormal? Keeping on amending a law day by day.
You see, they say law grows with the growth of people. In the early 2000s, we had Celtel and we had Ericsson, an Ericsson phone, which was purely analog. By the close of 2010, we had the introduction of Facebook. and other sister social media platforms. That is how technology runs. It is fast, it's dynamic. Now, the law should not be chasing technology. It should be the technology chasing the law. Now, I envisage a situation where several amendments, there could even be monthly amendments to the Computer Misuse Act, in order to bring it in tandem, in pari passu, with the existing technological trends and cyberspace practices. Because you see, as we speak right now, you have a social media platform, you have a Twitter handle.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You pay tax using systems. We file cases as lawyers using ECMIS. These are systems that enable us soften our day-to-day lives as Ugandans. Now, you cannot leave a space like that contributes, ICT contributes almost, if I'm not mistaken, it is everywhere, almost 50% of the GDP, ICT.
Council, why the bother? The president, we had the landlord and tenants bill, which the president took a lot of time without assenting to. The NSSF was a blessing. The president has assented to almost 4 laws. There's the KCC amendment, there's the mining law. But this is the only act which is bringing major concerns. Why?
Now, in order for you to understand why there is a fuss about the amendment of the Computer Misuse Act, you have to look at the political environment in the country. And you have to go back as early as 2010 and look at how political figures have gained political office. In 2010, 2009, Obama used Facebook as a way of campaigning and outraged, I think, McCain or something like that. We've had, after Obama, we've had presidents like Trump who have been nicknamed the tweeting president. And one of his tweets caused a riot at the Capitol. If you look at the 2021 elections, which I participated in, there were what they call dubbed scientific campaigns. A certain political group or there was a rise in a certain political class that used social media as a means to air out its views. Now, regulating social media became a very dicey issue. Political rants and exchanges were used on Facebook, mostly Facebook, Twitter, and all other things. So it became an area where government was not very, very comfortable, but also individual players were not comfortable. And a certain section of the public was also not comfortable with what was going on social media.
Okay.
The journalists, we could not identify who was a professional journalist and who wasn't, because everyone with a smartphone, everyone with a tablet, everyone with access to a computer could become a journalist. Now, very basic things like journalistic ethics were dropped. We've had scenarios where people would come and do live videos and incite the public. People would come do live videos and insult the Kabaka of Uganda, insult the Nabagile of Uganda, insult the president, the fountain of honor. Now, insult political parties. You see?
So you seem to be suggesting this is a political law, a political...
No, I'm basically not saying it's but
it's politically generated.
The platform has been used to stir political emotions among us. And now, the role of government is to come and regulate the space.
Okay.
It has to. Because if it doesn't, then it has left its role as government. And they will use, those who are interested in using this social media platform will use it as a platform to conduct themselves in such a way that it will feel like government has no charge.
So with all the concerns from your fellow land friends, like the way you call yourselves, is it possible to reverse this law?
How?
At a stage where it is.
You can't reverse technology. It's like telling me to go back to a Nokia 3310 when we have a Note 22. Technology is progressive, it's not retrogressive. And
so now that we cannot reverse it, what's now the implication? Both to the individual and to the economy of Uganda?
My problem with any law, with this law, but mostly the Ugandan laws, is enforcement and enlightenment of those who enforce the law. The police, the judiciary, and the parliament. In order for them to make laws that, one, have universal applicability to everyone, no matter status, class, and all that. Because everyone uses social media, from the topmost in the country to the last.
Okay.
The mama mboga, the one who uses social media or Facebook to sell her groceries to various clients, and also to top people in the echelons of power. Ministers, president, the president has a Twitter handle, I'm sure. The generals, you've had situations where generals use Twitter. So my issue is enforcement and regulation. Who enforces? When a police officer receives a complaint from a person of cyber harassment, do they know what they are dealing with?
Okay.
Do they know that it is an offense? Or can they differentiate that this one is a journalist who is doing investigative work? It cannot be cyber harassment. You understand? In order for you to be charged, if there is a crime, if there is any crime at all. So it has to do, no law, government will regulate. It has to regulate. You understand? It cannot prohibit speech. The freedom to speak is not a gift from government.
But freedom after speech, you've heard the late president of this country saying you have the freedom to speak, but the freedom after speech.
That's why they tell you to practice your rights responsibly, because you see, your rights must not interfere with the rights of other people. Yes.
So I've seen a quote on Facebook that Luther King Jr. says that our lives begin to die the moment we become silent about pertinent issues. Is that where we are heading to? Where Ugandans have issues of expression, but because of maybe the presence of this law, it is going to put us in circumstance where we cannot practically express ourselves.
You're interviewing me. You understand? There is no law. No government can make a law that stops you from interviewing me and giving my opinion. It is not there, you understand? But however, if in this interview, because of unethical behavior, I make insinuations or utterances that incite the public, that are a threat to national security, that cause divisions amongst the people based on tribe, religion, and sex or gender, you understand? And your editorial board doesn't deem it necessary to first weigh and sieve out the chaff, because you have an editorial board.
We do.
You understand?
We do have.
A journalist, a Facebook-generated journalist does not have an editorial board.
He's the editor. He's the alpha and omega.
He's the one who determines what's ethical. Whatever they will pick, they will throw. Whether it's injurious to children, whether it's injurious to protected persons, whether it's injurious to people like whistleblowers. You understand? They don't care. All they care is to post and share and distribute. You understand? So, in the absence of such frameworks, you will find a group of unregulated persons who will send this country into an area where we all don't want to go.
So what should we be cautious about as Ugandans, given the fact that now we have this law?
One, you must have responsible tweeting. You must have responsible social media.
What is irresponsible tweeting?
Irresponsible has been defined by the law. Hate speech. If your utterances, if the videos, if the recordings, if the effigies, this goes even artists, cartoon, what do they call them?
The cartoons, the
cartoons, you understand? Effigies, you understand? I've had famous people who put their cartoons on social media, and they get lots of likes and lots of followers, you understand? But is your cartoon responsible enough? Is it responsible? You understand? Does it pass the test that is regulated under the Computer Misuse Act?
Council, is something you've left out which is very key and pertinent as maybe we draw towards the end. This law prohibits you and me from engaging in public office. Yes, there's an article related to that.
Yes. Now, a person has power with their smartphone, and that's personal. You make a personal call, you send a personal message to a loved one. However, once you go to a social media platform, you have over 10,000 followers and friends. What you generate or what you create, you understand, goes to those 10,000 or 5,000 friends. And then those 5,000 friends also generate, you understand? It has a trickle-down effect to everyone who receives this information. Now, you have power, you're a leader with your smartphone, and you are expected to act responsibly as a leader who people follow. Because if a leader is followed, it's by nature. A leader is followed. Now, if you've not shown prudence in managing your own affairs, you understand? Why would you be allowed to manage affairs of others?
Maybe that discussion continues some other time regarding the Computer Misuse Act. As we plan out, what would be your parting shots, Council?
The cyberspace is ever moving, it's dynamic. We can use social media, computer processes for economic empowerment, for enlightenment, for information, for job creation, for ICT, and the positives that are around. You understand?
Okay.
I would implore Ugandans and those who use the platform to act responsibly and take the chaff.
Council, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to a land friend.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
It's a pleasure, and thank you. Of course, that is it from Council Lufunya Derrick. He's a senior lawyer, and the discussion regarding the Computer Misuse Act continues. This is a Coffee Court, and my name is Fred Makubuya.